Hey there, Internet. So, it's another live stream from the desk. I'm just gonna open up the feed. So you need to go there. So I can have the chat open. I'm probably just gonna work for an hour as usual. I have to get up early for a meeting tomorrow. First day on the new job. But after spending part of the day prepping for that, there we go, view on YouTube. Hello. Hello. There we are. Chat is open. The volume sounds good. Okay, gotta mute that. So, yeah, first day on new job starts very early tomorrow. So I'm gonna do some work on this page before I hit the sack. You can see I've got a lot of layers set up there. Is that the one I'm making on? I think it is. Yeah. It shouldn't be got renamed art. There. And this grid, these pink dots, in case you haven't seen an earlier video where I talked about that, those pink dots are, I literally just scanned a page out of one of the dot grid notebooks that I use for, thumbnailing and hiccups. Thumbnailing and journals and things. And the idea is I was looking for a very effortless way to be able to keep track of scale and the drawings. So I've sized them to every two dots, 1, 2, 3 dots, that's an inch. So space between one dot is 2 dots, I should say, is half an inch. And that means I can always tell exactly how far I've zoomed in. I like to work at a very high res because I'm doing a lot of line work here. So I'm doing something I haven't done in a while. And that, like when I scan my art that I do on paper, frequently I don't actually go for the 1200 DPI bitmap scan because I'm usually using ink washes and things. And I'm trying to get tones, and print for gray tones is capped at 300 DPI. So there's not much point at scanning at much higher resolutions. But two factors here. One, the style that I'm adopting for this particular story is going to be crisp black and white work with zipatone dots. So there will be no gray tones on those pages. And I'm finding Clip Studio runs real smooth even with really huge resolution files, really high resolution files. So I'm not even using vector at this point, just pixel layers, but still, it's very efficient. I like it. New job has given me an Adobe Suite Access. So I have an updated version of Photoshop at my disposal now that I'll be checking out. And already having looked at it, it's definitely running smoother on my machine than my old version did, which is kind of confirms my suspicions, which is that I've been running a really old version, not wanting to pay for a license, like a lease. I bought Photoshop ages ago and I didn't want to pay again. Even if, like, when you do the math for what Photoshop charges, which I always thought was too much, the monthly lease price isn't that bad. You can pay it off or earn it back with a modicum of regular work. But it's still just not, I prefer something I just own that isn't so expensive. And then I'm really digging the results I get in Clip Studio. So I think for my own work, I pretty much made the jump. But the new job, they do like us to work in Photoshop. I can actually do Clip Studio work and save it out as PSD files, which I might do sometimes. But why not now that I have access? Like, I'm going to get to also dabble with the access gives me the ability to install Fresco, which I haven't opened yet, but I did just to give it a whirl, try it out, see what I can do with it. I'm going to be primarily doing prop designs and line art for the next 3 months, so work won't require painting, I don't think. We'll see what happens. Past experiences when I'm doing studio jobs, there's often things that come up and they're like, hey, can you do this? So who knows? But that I know about, that's planned, it's just going to be really clean, super crisp, long Claire, modern animation style art. Think like the sort of line style you see in The Simpsons and Family Guy and that kind of stuff. Very crisp and very thin. Very simple, nothing over rendered. It's all going to be 2D looking, although some of the work is actually a 3D build with a 2D render. Things like cars. One of the nice things about those dots on the page is it really helps me gauge when I need to worry about, like, is this a detail someone's going to see? How fussy does it need to be? By the way, I'm probably teaching for a while what will be my last Intro to Cartooning semester at Sin Studio starting next week. So, you'll still be able to, if you want to, for the moment anyway. I got to see how the workload is on the new job. But in theory, you'll be able to pledge on Patreon and become a student patron there. But I'm probably going to cap the number of students that are possible. And if you were thinking about taking my cartooning course specifically at Sin, now might be the time, because I'm not sure when I'll next be teaching there. I won't be, after this semester, I won't be for a while, because I'll be, I expect, I hope, working at the studio, animating, or doing designs for animation. I did an animation test. I was trying to figure out how Toon Boom worked. Not everything about it, but just the aspects of it that I need for the job. And while I was at it, I'd already watched a little tutorial on setting up Toon Boom, and so once I figured out how to format my PSD files to import properly, I think, we'll find out. I then took that and played with it, duplicated out the channels, the layers, to animate a layered file. I didn't really animate it, like I didn't draw an animation, I just strobed the layers, but then rendered it out, because that's one of the things we'll have to do is render the file for uploading it. And I rendered it out as a GIF and a movie file to check it out, and it worked. And it's a pretty good little bit of software, eh? I mean, surprise, surprise, it's like an industry standard now. But now that I have access to that, I've got some old stuff I did that was animated in Flash. I didn't actually do the builds for the animation, but I did all the drawings. I have these envelopes full of all the frames drawn in a size that I could bulk scan on my scanner. I'm thinking I might just do that and just do like a really crude animation build, like an animation test style image. Leave in all alignment guides and stuff, and make a little GIF or movie file that I can post to my website, because I've got my old design work up there, but none of the little bits of animation that I've done over the years. So I should do totally like a reel or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Not for right now. Too much on the plate. I've also just been thinking about, like, in general, if you saw the Prossespods post, you'll know that I was oh, this thing's got the wrong title. It says Prossespods too. Let me fix that. Edit. Live stream. There. Save. Do. Hello, one person watching me. Could be me, I guess. But I didn't like myself. I see you've liked me. You really like me. Yeah. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah. Taking my old animation stuff and making a reel or some clips or GIFs or something. When I've got settled in and I have some time, I'll have to give that a whirl. I don't want to hide a boot right there. Yep, that's about right. It's a little bit cartoonish, but that's okay because it's very small. It needs to read well. This is supposed to be a burnt tree, or, well, tree-like thing. Spoilers. I do have the chat up, by the way, this time, but I'm not on Discord, in case you went looking for that link. I did not go there today. I just want to chill out and draw, but if you post something in the chat, I might see it, just so you know. I had a funny moment today. Went after doing some time getting ready, going through documentation, figuring out how a couple pieces of software worked, translating one document, both just so I could go back and read it quicker next time, but then as well, I'm going to have to brush up on a lot of French. Not even brush up, learn a bunch of new French. And this document was written in French. It was like a how-to set up a file and use the file management stuff and everything for Toon Boom with this job. And so I went through it with some translation software and made a bilingual version for myself, both to read, English and French next to each other and hopefully learn some of the specialized vocabulary that I'll need for the work. And make a file that I can look at real quick instead of trying to, when I'm in the middle of work, stress my brain doing the translation in my head, which at the best of times I'm guessing my French is pretty bad. Something I gotta work on. I've been freelance for so long, I really haven't had to teach in English, and Montreal is a place where as soon as people hear your cute English accent, they tend to switch to English themselves, even if they're francophone. So between that and working at home all the time, I really have not gotten a lot of practice. Well, it's gonna have to be something to work on. Studio is quite cool about it, actually, it seems. But just as a point of personal pride, I'm gonna have to improve. Oh, no, I don't like that. Most of that is going to get burnt. Look, let's do that now. Pixels only, but only this layer. That's a little funky. A little off alignment there. There we go. That. Nice. Really like the selection tool on this program too. Put Studio again in case anyone's not recognizing it. Yeah. It's very smart. So select invert selected area and also alrighty. Good enough. Now I want to go into my tones. And the gradients? Yes. I don't want gradient though, I just want basic. Yes. Yes. Hmm. No. Interesting. But no. Just, oh, that's right. I have it set for the last. So let me undo that. What was it again? There was a setting for that normal. Well, I want to multiply. Nope. Blending mode. What was the setting I had for that? That is not the setting I want. I forget. Is it mask? No. Dang it. I forget. Is it just that gradient? No. What did I do? I forget what the setting was. I did that for the last fade, part of the fade I was working on. And now how do I undo it? Dang it. What was the setting I had? Boop, doop, doop. Let's see. I want to make a mask for now, so I can save this. So let's do that. Okay. And I can come back and, oh, that's good to catch. I want just, nope, wait a minute. Wrong layer, that's why. Art. There. Go back. Oh, hey do. Hey there. That's fine, but do I have any other? No. Good. Okay, so now I can deselect. That's mask saved. What did I do for this layer? How is... There it is, this one. I'm not seeing what it is that I've done differently. Layer color. I see. I think that's what it is. Good. Now I want to drop this on top. Oh, there, it worked. All right then. That was straightforward enough. Now I'll know for next time. Where's my blues? There we are. I think the one I had, oh, where'd it go? Boop, 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 there we go. Oh, there we go. There. Definitely better, more burnt looking. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the things I dig about this. I can do that. Sweet. So the best half-toning that I found in Photoshop were brushes that let you do something along those lines. And you can totally duplicate that effect here. Draw in screen tone, the way I'm doing now, just so I'm drawing in black on this layer. What happens if I draw in color? Oh, it's still black. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. You're happy. I think I'm gonna have it smoke or something. Yes. So many settings to learn and memorize. And I learned a whole bunch of new settings as well earlier today for another program too. So a lot going on in my brain. But that's all right. Worked it out. Live and learn. I think I want to... So like I just kind of scribbled with the thumbnails, and I don't want to get too overworked with details, but part of the refinement process is rationalizing my scribbles. So coming up with something that makes sense to have that bend in it. Well, I can just explain it away with an elbow joint. And then we've got a pipe. think I'm going to do a chunk of wall. One of the things you want to do as an artist is inform your eye, study stuff. But I've also done, when I was a teenager, I worked in house renovations for summer jobs. And so that's handy because it means that I actually have seen a lot of deconstructed houses and know what it looks like when a wall's smashed. You can look this up easily enough. Google's handy that way. But also, things that you know well, intimately, you don't need to Google. It's sort of the whole point of study exercises, is to build up a mental library of things that you can just do. Thank you, Frika. I'm going to need a smaller brush. So these pink dots, in case you weren't here earlier, they mark 1/2 an inch. They're on a different layer, my grid layer. You can see over here. Helps me keep from not drawing too tiny. Right now I'm doing some fine detail that's probably pushing it, but I'll keep it simple. Oops, autosave. There we go. I think he's got, is it 2? Gonna have to do a continuity check. Yep, it's right here. 3. 3 little moments before the end of his jacket. What do I do for the cuffs again? Yeah, just a little bit of a bump. It's a bit too much. I'll try to a little over-articulate. It's such a small little figure. It's kind of like TV versus stage acting. When the figure's large, you can see them really clearly. Then you want to be a little subtler with the pantomime, the body language, the acting. But when the figure's tiny, it's like stage acting. Stage actors work big. Actors who've got to go back and forth between both will tell you how they have to learn how to modulate what they're doing based on that context, because what sells on a stage just looks hammy and stupid on screen. So they have to tailor their performance to the setting. So for drawing, it's similar. For a little figure, at least I find, for my style, little figure, I'm going to hyper-articulate things like fingers, try to sell stuff a bit more. I often use a slightly more cartoony set of proportions. Right now I'm redrawing the arm because I can see that I a little overextended the position of the shoulder and the thumbnail. I need, what was it again? I want a new window. So I can have some continuity checks as I'm drawing this. Get your fingers off the Control Z. Actually, so I was just writing an update for my Intro to Cartooning class. Starts next week, and I didn't mention this specifically, but I was talking about how I still like working on paper. I've been doing more digital work lately for a variety of reasons, and enjoying getting more comfortable with the software. But I started out on paper, and so it's always my kind of like native tongue. And also, though, I find something I noticed with a lot of my students, and that makes a big difference. I noticed you learn on paper, it forces you to learn to let go and not overcorrect all the time. You can always go back and revise things and make changes, especially digitally. So there's no reason to constantly dump lines. Oops. So you can do stuff like that when it obviously feels wrong. Reshape. And when you're drawing on paper with the blue line roughs, the idea isn't to get it perfect, but when you put a line that sort of feels wrong, your eye knows it. You don't want to overwork it and waste a lot of time making that rough drawing perfect, but often making another mark before you erase or do anything, using the mistake, I'm using air quotes right now, you can't see me, but using the mistake as a guide, because it's telling you why it feels wrong. If you just erase it, Control Z it, you'd lose that information. You don't have that input about why it feels wrong anymore. You just have to kind of figure it out one more time. And that leads to, on paper, sort of the amusing experience of like making a bad line, erasing it, and then drawing it almost exactly the same again. And I see people doing this with Control Z as well. Just keep redoing the same thing 3 or 4 times before they get rah, and then manage to figure it out. What'll really help, don't erase anything. If you have a really clear instinct right away why it feels off, try placing a mark where it feels like it should be. And then step back for a second and look at it. Don't undo, just look. Were you right? You might have been right. You might have also been overreacting. When a drawing is incomplete, it goes through many ugly, awkward phases and might feel wrong, when in fact it's fine. It's just incomplete. There's things missing. Either way, with the roughs, these blue lines, they were originally black and white, and a lot of the scribbling is that process and leaving it all there. And then now, when I'm doing the inking, I can go in and make decisions about what I like, what works, and what I'm going to change. It's a lot faster. And so Carlos posted, I prompted this whole line of mumbling by Carlos saying it's nice to see confidence in your inking. And, you know, it's partially that's 30 years of drawing, but it's also not so much confidence as it is just kind of plowing forward and knowing that whatever happens, I can change it. There's lots of stuff I don't like in my work, just like anyone else, but perfectionism can cause you to slow down trying to fix things constantly. And then you just don't make progress. You go slow. It's always a bit of a trap. I'll usually go over pages. So first of all, in waves, so the roughs, these blue lines you see were my rough thumbnails. And then often, so on paper I would be doing pencils and then inks. But one of the perks to digital is that it's actually pretty easy to just go straight to ink. The cleanup that I would do with pencils can just simply be the finished line. Depends on your style. If I'm trying to do a really very, very cultured, controlled line, then I might want to make a couple passes at it. But what I found is, because you don't have to worry about, the refinement process in pencil puts wear and tear on the paper. And then that's why I like to then take that and scan it and start on a fresh sheet of Bristol to do the inks. So I still end up with thumbnail, blow it up, blue line, pencil, scan it, blow it up a little more probably, blue line, and ink it. Partially just to have those stages where I have a virgin sheet of paper to do the next wave on. And that lets me get a really nice finish on the work. And it's also kind of nice because if I screw up the inking, I haven't lost my pencils. I can just print another set of blue lines. The original pencil drawing is on a different piece of paper. But when I'm doing digital like this, things change a little bit. So I keep the work on layers. So I still haven't lost my pencil or my roughs. But it's a lot easier to clean up the work in this finished art layer and basically just make it the inks than it is when I'm using pencil and paper. So it becomes more efficient just to really have two stages, the rough layout and the clean ink. For this art I still have another pass to do of, oops, wrong place for that line. Another pass to do for the tones, which normally I'll do a second pass. You saw me doing that tree because I wanted to test my theory about how it's going to work, whether I wanted to leave it where I had for the look of it being burnt. But mostly I'll try to do all the line work in one. That shoulder looks wrong. In one pass. There we go. Here I am exaggerating the shapes of her arm a little bit, but now I'm going to bring it down a bit because it was a little overdone. There we go. It's actually kind of born on advice my mother gave me. So my mother's a artist as well, and an animation director. If you've seen my past videos, you'll have noticed I played the trailer for her latest kids animated short that she directed. A most magnificent thing, I think that's what it's called. And so I got to grow up around animation studios, and even before she did that, she was a freelance illustrator and painter when I was younger. It was hard to pay the bills, so that's why she started doing studio work for animation. She had friends who ran Nelvana Studios, so she got a job working on Rock and Roll. But even before that, I used to go to freelance clients' offices with her and wait while she talked to them. Occasionally posed. There was a Quill and Choir cover for about a book festival, and I posed a couple times to look like people who were tired leaning against books for an on-the-spot change of illustration. She'd done an illustration of like an overhead view of the festival, and then when we got there, the photographer had taken almost the exact same photograph of the festival. So they were like, well, that's a little redundant. Can we get you to do a different drawing? So on the spot, she did a sketch of people leaning against giant books looking tired. And I posed for them. So it's kind of fun. I was pretty young, so I was probably also a good actor because I was genuinely tired. Like, can we have to stay longer? Can we go? Okay, I can lean against this filing cabinet and pretend to be annoyed and frustrated and tired because that's not hard. And anyway, where was I going with that? There was a reason I brought that up. I lost my train of thought. It's okay. Oh yeah, my mother gave me that advice. That's why. I just looked up the chat and I remembered what got me started. So one of the few pieces, she was kind of like, she didn't want to be a stage mom. And so she almost was antagonistic towards, like she knew how to play piano. And I wanted her to show me how, and she just wouldn't. And when I started drawing, she clearly inspired by seeing my mother draw all the time. She was really reluctant to give me a whole lot of feedback. Even to this day, she's very reticent to comment on my work. One way or another. She has occasionally. It's not like never does, but there's a clear sort of reluctance to duplicate behavior that she didn't like in her parents. But she kind of overdid it. And at any rate, the result was I only got a few pieces of drawing advice from her. But one of the ones that I got early on that stuck was that your first line is often your best line. That was a long way to get to that bit of the story, isn't it? First line is often your best line. It's not necessarily true, but if you've been practicing and you've developed your skills, it's often actually the case that drawing from instinct is more effective than your more careful, overly labored stuff. And so learning to just trust yourself a little bit better and not over edit. It's very, very valuable. And it does help you go a lot faster. Yes, exactly, Carlos. Thank you. I don't like the way that boot's hidden. I'm not seeing the shape. How am I going to do that? I want to see it, but I want there to be like a step. There. A little bit of lost line. Lost line is when you leave a gap. And kind of a key line effect around the shape is another thing here. So the bottom is casting a shadow. I want that to be dark. But having the lost line at the top there helps sell the shape of the leg better. And you see, I was pretty sure about what I didn't like there, so I didn't hold back, just undoing away it. And that's one of the nice things about undos. You have no reason to be afraid of making mistakes because there's so much power in the software. On paper, it's bleed-proof white. It's a white kind of paint. That and I really love Presto pens. They're whiteout pens from Pentel. They work amazing. Between those two tools, I never really worried too much about making a mistake. Back in the day also, I learned working in animation how to patch out pieces of paper if it really had just wrecked the surface and couldn't draw it anymore and you wanted to keep the piece in one piece. The reality is nowadays it's not critical, so I don't do it that often because I can always just do another drawing on a different sheet and scan and paste, cut and paste it into a page. So there's no need to try to put it on one page. But sometimes you just, you want that completest feeling of having a piece of work that is whole in your hands, not just in pixels. So occasionally I'll do the cut and paste anyway, just to have that final original that is one integral piece of art. Or at least integral looking, because if you look closely, it's got some clever patchwork done in it. I think I posted a video about that once, if you go looking at my archive, doing the patchwork trick. It's pretty old probably, but I believe I did. Something like how to replace a panel in your page, or something like that. Old school. Zoom out and take in what I'm doing for a second. I want to do this skull thingy up here. What was that going to be again? That was a specific symbolic reference to... What was it no for? I guess I'm going to leave it now because I don't actually remember what that reference was. I'm going to have to let that sit and brew just a bit. See if my memory will kick in. I usually find when that happens to my short-term recall, not thinking about the thing is the way to remember. Let me leave that corner. Yeah. That section is kind of the hoarding, so I want the top. A lot of alignment, but it don't matter, it's too tiny. We don't give no fucks there. A little more keyline work to make that pop. dirt. Skyline. Thinner line. What's the skyline? Oops. Okay. That. Yeah. The magic of feathered lines. So I can also blend that a little bit just by doing a couple of knockouts. But the tapering of feathered lines hatch together very nicely. So you can create relatively contiguous patterns. I want to cross hatch here for the shadow cast by the dark of the wall. Let's see if I can't just finish this panel up. That'd be nice. Get one done before I call it a night. Of course, done being relative. I go back and forth over my pages as I'm moving on through a story. Look for continuity issues and tweak things after I've had a little time to rest sleep on them. Especially the digital stuff. It's definitely a point where you've got to decide, okay, it's done. Stop fiddling with it. But the necessity to enforce that is a lot lower with digital files, especially because if you're pretty happy with it, but you think you might be able to fiddle with something a little bit, I'll just save out an alternate version and then work on a new one. No, with no risk whatsoever to screwing up the master file. That is where I need it to be for now. For analog, that just means I scan it. It gives me a time capsule snapshot of where it was at. before I decide to fiddle some more. That's good. Very fine hatching, but that'll work. That'll work. I'm not trying to remember what that. I think it's just like a death head. I think it's supposed to be just a death head. Danger. In which case it just needed the band sign. It should be more like a. What does that look again? There we go. So more like a smaller skull. I like the sad eye skulls you see on a lot of warning signs. Oh, autosave. There we go. Excuse me. And then that was a good example of. Didn't like quite the arc of that line. It's supposed to actually look like a hand-drawn bit of graffiti, so I don't want perfect. It was also just sort of not quite the shape I was looking for. Oops. Nope, still wrong. If I can see it better now. Yeah. I want the waiver in there. There we go. We'll have some trippy bits. Yeah. I think I should make my job easier if I drop this onto a new layer and give it a white fill. And I can just draw the brick wall right under it. Let's do that. Boom. Yes. Boom, boom, boom. Also, a nice thing about these layered assets, I can tweak so easily. Yes. A little high. Good. Whoa. Oops. So I don't have to worry about drawing over my graffiti. I'm probably gonna do some texturing on this wall and stuff with the Zipatown. And I'll probably go in with that and add it to the graffiti as well, so that it has shadows. Looks like it's actually on these bricks. You'll notice that I've done more angle up there, which is technically accurate-ish. Oops. But it's a close enough shot that I didn't actually want to push the perspective. So I was going with more of an orthographic rather than a vanishing point. Thinner line, 2 big cement bricks for this part. That's it. Yeah. So in the optical effects, when you're doing this kind of brickwork, you can start seeing the way the brick lines line up. It helps you continue the pattern and keep it aligned. my diagonals. And then I want to watch my distance so I'm going, not drifting too much. Once you get into the rhythm of it too, you're not committed to going just vertically up and down the way I've been. You can start to follow the diagonals. So it's this and this. I'm aligning this and I'm aligning that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to sell to the eye. That's going to be fine. Little off. There we go. So triangulate it. Right. Yoink. 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 I can go this way too. It's going to be a very weathered wall when I'm done, but first I need the base pattern. It's a little off. Oh no, it's right. I got a missized brick, but that's actually okay. If you ever looked at a brick wall, every once in a while you'll see something like this. A little bit of masonry work like that. And I actually kind of make a point of sometimes doing it intentionally, but then also when I goof and get one out of place, I'll just fudge it and make it into one of those. As long as not too many. It actually adds a little bit of realism. Because, you know, humans laid the brick wall. It ain't perfect. And of course, this is not a central piece of this drawing either, so again, perfect is not what we're looking for. We're looking for something that reads well and quickly. All right, and then I can do real quick. Put the graffiti on top. Also, when I lay down these tones, back in the day, I'm really loving having this feature in Clip Studio because back in the day I used to use Zipatone, the real thing. I have to tell you, this digital version is a lot more fun to play with, much more forgiving, much less messy. But one of the do I want a gradient? Maybe I do. Yeah, maybe that. Why did I not get the little blue markers? That didn't work. Why did that not work the way it worked before? Let's do... There we go. Yeah. This is just so much less painful than cutting transparent zipatone and pasting down pieces and having little tiny, millions of tiny little pieces of it laying all over the place. That's good. Let's go back to here and brush, and we can do, oh, why am I not? Oh yeah, I put it on top. Okay, I'll figure that out later. What do I want to do now? I want to erase some bits. Highlights. So much easier. So this would be done with like white paint, except that you'd be going over your black lines, so it'd be really hard to do as fast and effectively as I'm doing it right now. Love it. So much simpler. And I'll do some vertical. There. Especially down here where you really see it. Okay. Getting. Just looking at the time. Need to hit the sack soon. Early morning. Gotta watch that. Yeah. Oops. So, I could probably do some more, but I'll lose track of time. And we've got, oh yeah, hour and 20 minutes. Well, would have been nice to have done a panel in under an hour. But that's okay. As I said to a friend who was saying, "I hope you keep doing your comics because your new animation job's gonna take a lot of time." It will, but I'm a lifelong member of the slow action movement when it comes to my personal comic work. It takes the time it takes. So I think I'm going to save this and pause for the night. I can come back to it, and there's gonna be a lot of meetings. I'll give some time to ink while I'm in them, or later in the day after my first shift of doing things. Maybe, I think I want to do one thing. Technically it would probably be black because of the fire, but I want this boot to pop. Yeah, there we go. Alrighty, y'all. Well, thanks for joining me. There's only one of you left now. You tenacious individual, whoever you are. Go check out patreon.com/salgood, and you can still pledge like $2 for sure, just to get my comics. For now, I think I will take a few more portrait commissioners and maybe 1 or 2 more students on Patreon, and then I'll be capping it. Because I think that's all I can handle while I've got the day job. But it's still an option. It's an option. That would mean if you're a student patron, you get to show me your stuff once a month, and I can assign you things to do to work on key features of your work that you want to improve. So check that out. SalGoodSam.com for my regular stuff, and if you go to spilltink.gumroad.com, I believe that's the name, you'll find these all in the doobly-doo below. There is it's a way to order my comics. There's also Dracula and Comixology, and other stuff. There's a whole bunch of links in the doobly-doo. So I will see you guys around next time. Keep doodling. Wear your masks. Wash your hands. Stay safe.